interests outside of the state. But tonight's event is likely going to be different because of a texting scandal involving the Democratic candidate Jay Jones, which could have an impact on the closely watched race for governor. Joining us now is Karen Holt, a political science professor at Virginia Tech. Great to have you join me today.
Good to be with you. Thanks.
So the recent discovery of those texts Jones sent in 2022 talking about shooting the then State House Speaker has changed the race really here. That has to be the first topic discussed in my mind. What do you think?
I think that's absolutely right. And whether it's discussed first, it certainly sets the undertone for the entire evening's debate. And it's part of the reason, of course, that many people will be watching the live streaming to begin with.
Yeah, and I'm sure Jones has talking points on many of the issues, but if you were sort of giving him advice, how would you advise him to strategically answer this question? What are you expecting to hear from him? Because he's got to explain as well as why he deserves to take this office, be elected.
I think those are really good and important questions for him to have to cope with. In terms of describing and explaining, I assume that he will say pretty much what he said so far, which is, yes, those were mine. I do regret that I used those terms. I have apologized to the Gilbert family for the terms that I used, and certainly that kind of discussion has no place in politics. What he does after that, of course, is where the pivot is going to be so important, because what Mr. Jones is running for a second time is to be the Attorney General of the state of Virginia. What that means then is that is the chief law officer of the state of Virginia. More importantly, that person is third in line to the governorship, or second in line following the lieutenant governor, in case the governor cannot fulfill their position, but also is a crucial link within Virginia in terms of being the only advisor for most of state agencies, state universities, as well as the legislature. In addition, he is the link to the U.S. government as well. He may be arguing before the U.S. Supreme Court, or members of his office will be. He also may be in the position of taking issue with or responding to presidential initiatives. So many responsibilities for the person in this office. What Mr. Jones needs to do is to assure the listening audience that he has the status and the stature and the responsibility in order to fulfill those positions.
And going in for Miyares, what do you suspect his strategy is?
Well, certainly he doesn't need to say very much other than this is utterly inappropriate for anyone to have used that language, and for this to come out this late in the week. Race also says something about who is being nominated on the Democratic Party side. More than that, I think what Miyares will continue to do is talk about what he has done that's good for the Commonwealth in his term as Attorney General, the kinds of changes that have been made and what his priorities are for the future. All of that then feeds into a successful narrative for Attorney General Miyares that says, I not only have the status, the legitimacy, and the achievements in this position, that is a strong reason to reelect me.
Now, what may have gotten lost with all the attention focused on those text messages are the real issues facing Virginians. Now, earlier today, former President Barack Obama endorsed Spanberger for governor and focused a lot of his endorsement on abortion rights. What role do you see that playing with voters?
I think it will play a role on both sides of the party vote, for example, as it will in the past. That is an issue in which Attorney General Miyares will have to defend his own position on abortion, though he has to enforce the laws of the state. But he has been pretty clear about how he stands on that issue in terms of protecting reproductive rights, where Mr. Jones is going to argue quite the opposite and will put himself in a position contrary to Attorney General Miyares. Having said that, though, I think probably a key vote for Virginians who decide to vote at all or have voted already is going to be the Virginia economy. Now, how that feeds into this debate tonight will be in many different directions, but certainly some people have argued that Mr. Miyares could have stood more firmly with the people who've lost their jobs within the federal government or in contracting positions, and there have been ways that attorneys general at the state level have responded to that.
So could that be an opening, an opportunity for Jones?
Oh, I think absolutely. That's among the things that he will say. He will say, in addition to, I'm in favor of strong reproductive rights for women, he also is going to talk about his relationship with, as Attorney General, what goes on at the national government level as well. And what that means then is that he may well be involved in challenging with other Democratic attorneys general at the state level what's going on in terms of the economy, in terms of immigration enforcement, in terms of deporting and holding immigrants in the state of Virginia if they've been stopped. That whole range of issues may be another thing that Jones may well try to do, which is to link himself and the Democratic ticket as in opposition strongly with what Mr. Trump has been doing.
Recent polls show the race for governor in Virginia has tightened. How concerned should Spanberger be about Jones dragging her down?
I think very concerned, and I think the evidence that she is concerned is clearly out there. The Obama endorsement comes at quite an interesting time, as does former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg appearing with Spanberg in Charlottesville yesterday. Money has been poured into the campaign from both sides, but clearly Ms. Spanberger is having to take seriously what has been done that's directing the attention of the voters to the bottom of the ticket rather than to the top of the ticket. And that's been a clear distraction for her campaign, and for trying to make the arguments they've been attempting to make.
Professor Holt, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your perspective.